Welcome to PASC26. This is the highlights from the conference. I have the pleasure to be with Jay Lofsted, Sandia National Lab, and you are here because we want to talk about the ACM Student Research Competition. There were just the awards ceremony. So Jay, can you tell us what is this ACM Student Research Competition?
All right, so each year ACM wants to highlight research done by students to try to help give recognition and help grow the community. And every SIG or special interest group that ACM has is allowed to sponsor events so that members of that community can then participate in their grand finals that happens in April every year. And then they compete against everybody else across computer science to see who across computer science has done the best work. And they have a separate competition for undergrads and then grad students.
How did it look like this year? So did you have enough submission? Were they doing exciting work? Tell us a little bit about this year.
So I believe we had 14 submissions this year. We had 2 that did not qualify. One of the main things that we have to look for is to make sure there's a core computer science contribution. It may be great domain science work, but if it's not computer science, it doesn't really qualify for the competition. And it also has to be something new that hasn't been published before. So using that criteria and looking at the work and making sure that what people had submitted was valid and capable of competing, we ended up having to reject 2. New this year that we were thrilled to see is we had 4 undergrad submissions that made it through. And because of that, we actually were able to have a first, second, and third place. Unfortunately, one of the undergrad submissions did withdraw at the last minute, and that was like last week, kind of last minute. So we were 1 short there, but we also had, I believe it was 8 in the grad student category, and it ended up going really well. So
it is gaining momentum, but then maybe we should stress again, what are the advantages for the students to apply when they apply to this competition and win the competition?
Since this competition is visible across all ACM people and therefore basically the entire computing community, it gives them exposure saying, I'm somebody that's been recognized as doing the best work as a student. And so our undergrads in particular, so I'll kind of go through the 6 different winners that we had because each one of them is kind of an interesting special case. For our undergrads, we had 1 student from India, we had another student from South Africa, and our 3rd student was from the US. So we had 3 different continents represented as our finalists. Yeah. For the grad students, we had 2 in Europe and 1 in the United States. And again, having all of these continents represented tells us that we're doing a much better job at getting our messaging out. We had more women participate this year than we had last year, which is also great.
So you are taking care of the diversity, the inclusivity, the equity, which are all important things to keep in mind. Jay, now I will ask you on a personal level, why are you doing this?
I love working with students, and one of the things that my first job doing community service, beyond like paper reviewing, which is what most people do, was working to help run a student program. And that was back in like 2015 or 2014. And since then, I've just never stopped. And one of the things that I discovered is that we often have had poster competitions for people, and they would just be informal and local for the conference. But I would always, for every poster, walk the group of students through that we'd look at all their posters and have each student say what was something about the poster that they thought was unclear or could be expressed better. And I always put myself last. And I could always find something. Sometimes it's a very subtle thing that doesn't really matter, but I can always find something. And through that, I've learned a lot about how to express information. So for the students, the first thing they have to learn how to do is express their ideas in a 2-page written abstract. The second thing they have to learn how to do is to create a poster about A0 size and then be able to speak to that poster and express their idea. And the third thing they have is the 10-minute presentation. Then for the grand finals, it's a 4-page paper. So each of these are different kinds of communication skills. So for me, it's a matter of I'm helping students think more broadly about their topic and the impacts they have, but also teaching them how to communicate. And that part of it's a lot more subtle because they're not thinking about that as much as they are, oh, I have to write it up in this way. And so that, for me, is watching the students grow and change just over the course of the competition was great.
So then the message that we have to send out there is this is a great opportunity for students to apply to the ACM student research competition. It opens a lot of doors and allows a network, and they also give them a very great mentor to help them grow into their research, but also into their future in general.
Right. So one thing I would want to emphasize, particularly about the ACM SRC at PASC, is that because this conference is so broad, we have a tremendous amount of domain knowledge here. And that helps students look around and they say, oh, I see places where my work can be applied. And that helps them then communicate more broadly. So coming to this event and participating in the student research competition helps you hone your own message, but at the same time, you get such exposure to all of these other things that you start to see a much bigger picture on where your work can apply.
Yeah, the interdisciplinarity of the PASC conference is really what makes it also a little bit unique, because you really have people talking to each other independently of the field that they are coming from. So then, Jay, thank you for joining us, and we will make our best to keep advertising the ACM Student Cluster competition for next year, and we will see you again at PASC
27
in Lugano.